streaming. Oops.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
After an extended qualifying series, after these drivers have put everything they could on the line, and after the field was thinned down to the top 30 NASCAR drivers in Australia. Hello and welcome everyone to Daytona International Speedway. We are live with the first round of the Australian NASCAR E-Series. Here we go. We've been waiting, we've been ready for this moment, and now we get the opportunity to let them loose. And it's Daytona, the super speedway, to kick the season off. As the season gets started in the mighty US of A, so it does down under as well. I've been waiting such a long time to get this one. I'm disappointed I'm not out there and in the field, but you know what? That means I'm here in the booth to bring you guys all of the racing action here tonight. Round one of the Australian NASCAR Championship, Daytona International Speedway, an 80-lap shootout to see what the best of Australian NASCAR talent can bring to us. Scotty Rankin and Mr. Dean Biggles hopped in behind the scenes at the moment, running all the pictures for you, and we'll have Bryce Meddings here in the booth in just a few moments. Qualifying is in the books, and the first qualifying for the NASCAR Championships is going to see Ethan Winter take out the pole position. I'll tell you what, the field that's going to be queuing up behind them. This is the challenging circuit, of course. Survival is everything. Points will be on the line. You've got to make sure that you take the checkered flag. That will be a big story that we'll be making our way through here tonight. Warm-up is about a minute and a half away from being completed. And when we get there, we'll be able to finally let them loose. Like I said, it's going to be an Ethan Winter and Zach Kerr front row. That's going to allow those drivers to set loose. It's a P1 dock set versus Team 1 front row. And then we get into some more of the Team Conti setups and Lobs Esports on row number 2 as well, which will be representing the Ryko manufacturers. So that was qualifying, at least in the books, but it's Daytona. It's going to be chaotic. It's going to be about making sure that you survive and making sure that you're surrounded by friends to get to the front. What does the hardware look like for these drivers? Well, in terms of the way that we've set the series up, we've elected to go down the path of running the Xfinity chassis, and that means that it's not going to be NASCAR trucks as was the qualifying series. It's not going to be the next gen cars. It's going to be the Xfinity cars that we've had the chassis for a long time, the known quantity, but also a car that's a little bit lighter on downforce. The entire concept around the Xfinity chassis: high horsepower, low downforce. You're going to be experiencing a little bit of that here tonight as well. What it does mean as well, the shoves can't be huge. You've got to really set the car up and make sure that you line the shove up, not over hit the back end of the chassis ahead of you. That will lift the rear end up off the ground. And other than that, it's going to be 200 mile an hour racing. Like we said, 80 laps. The duration here is going to be 200 miles to take us through to the conclusion. We're looking at least one pit stop. Should we get a long green flag run and go green flag to flag, a little bit of saving will be required to stretch it to the entirety of the 80 laps. It'll be the first thing the drivers will be looking to tick off. It's just enough fuel saving to get themselves home. But the big thing is, this is the start of the first Australian NASCAR Championship season, and an opportunity, most importantly, to put points on the board. Here is the front row and qualifying standings as they came to us. Ethan Winter for BBS Esports was able to put his car on pole position. Zach Kerr, the Nexus Esports P1 Docs outfit, will line up alongside of him. Fitzroy Beaumont's Vermilion Motorsports car will be off of row number 2, so that'll be the two Team Conti cars, second and third. For the setup outfit, Brad Newman will be repping the Ryko branding off of the outside of row number 2. Lachlan Mead will line up on the inside of row number 3, puts another BBS Esports, 2 cars from them inside of the top 5, and Stephen Williams will line up to his outside. Matt Danson, capable of winning this thing outright, also inside of the top 10. Lachlan Okijo will be to his outside. Matty Ray, one of the big time faces of the Australian NASCAR season, makes his way again inside of the top 10, and Sam Smith will be to his outside in the Prime 100 entry. Lewis Greathead, another of the Vermilion Esports entries inside of that top 12. Tyler Williams to his outside. Get back to row number 7, where we'll find Alexander Sheridan for Cobalt Racing, Ryan Jones, the Simrigs DPR car, alongside of him. Shane Bowen and Sam Chapman, so 2 Cobalt Racing cars lined up on the inside row. They might be able to find some ground early. Chapman on his outside. Synergy Sim Racing's Wayne Burke will be off of row number 9 before we get back to Brenton West to his outside. Darren McKenzie in the Southern Stars Esports car inside of the top 20. Brenton Hobson, driver of Supercars fame, and the 88 machine out of row number 10. Josh Micklemore will be just outside of the top 20, a driver who needs no introduction. Another driver will be looking to try and take home that Drivers' Championship, and capable of doing so, Dave Douglas in the Nitro Racing machine to his outside. Jason Holdsworth and Aaron Gilbert are going to make up row number 12. Again, Nitro Racing machine for Jason Holdsworth, and Henry King alongside of James Ritchie Price. Rounding out the field for tonight's 28 drivers making the big show, Andrew Dyson will be off the back row. Nigel Seal, I believe, is our admin in control of the server here tonight. So 27 drivers to take the green. Bryce Meddings has just joined us, and Bryce, it's Daytona, it's 2.5 miles, it's super speedways, it's plate racing, it's bump drafting. How long before the big one bites?
I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to say about 63 laps here tonight. Big one on lap 63.
I'll tell you what, if you get that right, I'll send you $100. So, if you've guessed that number right straight off the cuff, that will be supreme. But we will need to see the big one.
That's a nice camera angle, the shock absorber there. I didn't know iRacing had that modelled that well.
Oh yeah, brilliantly modelled. Up and down, and you can see that shock actually wearing and riding as the race continues. Right, The drop of the green flag. Again, drivers have waited. They've challenged. They've had to drive their way into this series. 80 laps worth of green flag racing, and Barney will wave the green flag for the first time for the Australian NASCAR Championship. Here we go, boys. A boogity boogity boo. And on the way down at turn number 1, Ethan Winter's got that inside line rolling nice and early. But it's going to be the big shove that comes through from Brad Newman on the outside. So momentum builds on the top side to start things off. A little bit of separation on the inside line leads me to believe when we come off of turn 2, and there it is, the momentum swings to the high side. Who's looking to fuel save? Who's looking to set themselves alight nice and early? Who's looking to make move? And I tell you what, that outside lane is absolutely motoring on lap 1, Bryce.
Absolutely. Brad Newman doing a wonderful job pushing the 12 of Kerr to the lead of the race. Kerr dropped down to the inside there, so he's abandoned the help of Brad Newman there on the outside line. We'll see a bit of a reset in the momentum as we round out lap 1, but it's going to be Zach Kerr and Brad Newman up at the front leading this race tonight.
And after a long challenge to qualify their way in, we've got our field, our first lap underway. And the 5:35-ish p.m. start in the sim world to tonight's racing conditions means that we're likely to get this one out of the way before we'll switch on the floodlights. 21 degrees Celsius, the track temperatures. And for those fans who are watching along at home and going, hey, this is NASCAR, what are you doing talking in metric units? Because we can, we'll say to you.
Well, it's Australian NASCAR, so why wouldn't we say our temperature measurements and in metrics we're familiar with? So outside line had a good run on the back straight, stalled out coming around the tri-oval. Gonna build again. It's just getting this push here. Stephen Williams not quite giving the same level of aggressiveness to Brad Newman as Newman gave to Zach Kerr. All status quo so far as we pan around look at the field. It's a wonderful sunset here at Daytona virtual. So
interesting to drive our way down that back straightaway as well, seeing in the real world that they've taken the opportunity to pave that one in the essence of safety.
Have they now?
They have
I didn't know
for Daytona this year. I believe it's temporary paving because they have done that to make sure that there's no blowovers after seeing the giant wreck last year.
That would make sense. Everything to help safety in motorsport is a big thing, especially we're here with the plate races, but it's known for the big one. While it's spectacular to look at, we do want drivers to be safe in the real world, and fortunately we don't have to worry about driver safety all too much here in the virtual world, as we see a couple of drivers jumping out of line, making their way further down the field, probably cool their engines and maybe fuel save a little bit more. Ethan Winter in the 39 and the number 19 of, let me look at my running, consult my running order here. The number 19, Lachlan Mead.
Looks like that might have been the teammates, the BBS teammates. I'm assuming both electing to take that decision and drop to the back.
Looks like so. Both running Conti schemes on their cars, so would like to put it there. Brad Newman slots down to the inside. When all is said and done, so he'll leave Williams running as the lead car on the outside, getting a push from Lockie Okujo, one of the season champions here in the NASCAR E-Series. Australian NASCAR E-Series, I should say. And a bit further on back, it looks a bit more disconnected on that outside line, so they'll have to reset, get the momentum building back up if they want to make a real challenge to this front line.
I think the big thing, Bryce, is when you have a look at that pack early on, they're not tight on each other. They're not looking to go for the big shoves at the moment. I think this is just everyone settling themselves in. I've seen a few backfiring coming from a lot of exhaust pipes up and down the field. So I believe this is the fuel save section of this race. This is everyone just riding around for now and building their way into the season.
Absolutely. It's definitely a good strategy to be saving fuel right now. Later on in this race, tank should last about 43, 45 laps from memory. So getting as much you can, pitting with your team, that's going to be a big one. A lot of drivers here running in teams. We saw a couple of the team cars before, Ethan Winter and Lachlan Mead dropping back before. You got the DPR cars. We see Stephen Williams at the lead of this field. There is another DPI car, and Andrew Dyson further on back, who looks to have been making his way through the field. So we'll keep an eye on his progression and see how these team strategies play out as this race progresses.
Don't forget Ryan Jones also out of the DPR squad as well, so they'll be one of the biggest teams in the field with 3 entries.
I think I see Ryan Jones in the outside lane, just a little bit further back behind his teammate Stevie Williams in the number 11. He's taken.
Jones is going to send it 3 wide up the middle. Well, that was an important point in time to take a little bit of a look at him. Because
that it was indeed.
He's going to go ahead and take the opportunity to jump past Tyler Williams. And effectively, he's just picked up 1 spot in the lane to just reposition himself a little bit further forward. Probably time for a little bit of a driver profile look-in with Ryan Jones, given that we're on board with him at the moment. Learn a little bit more about our field. I can tell you Ryan Jones is one of the commentating crew in the Australian community. Has been a long-time commentator and actually does media work outside of the sim. So he's quite involved in the Australian racing scene. Stout V8 supercar driver as well, is opting to qualify his way into the Australian, the Logitech Pro Invitational field at the moment. So he is dealing with a little bit of mixed duties with successfully qualifying with this field, but running the gauntlet of qualifying series at the moment over in the supercar.
It's definitely admirable to watch the DPR boys. Very multifaceted team. All these drivers on this lineup can race road and oval. They've shown that they can win races here in the NASCAR, Australian NASCAR E-Series as well. So I'd put them to win a couple of races here in the Australian NASCAR Championships, no doubt.
I think it's really interesting to note the dynamic that we have in the Australian community. Coming from that road background, most guys jump into the sim, and it's the first time they're experiencing anything to do with NASCAR. So what ends up happening is normally you have a look at most leagues and most series around the world, the NASCAR roads course races tend to be throwaway races for a good chunk of the field. But here in the Australian scene, they're probably the most competitive races of the season.
Looking at the field now, the outside lane, just as we've been talking, has lost a fair bit of ground. A lot of cars electing to jump down into that bottom lane, either to save some fuel further back in the draft or just not wanting to sit in that high lane anymore. I say that now the momentum's shifting back towards the outside. Not enough to get a good run into turn 3, so you won't see a change for the lead here, but definitely dropping the amount of cars in that outside lane.
At the moment, I think the big thing is just the pace isn't intense at the moment. You can see a lot of separation at the front. That says there's a fair few cars in the field electing to take the opportunity to fuel save. Matt Danson's currently chilling out 4th spot on the inside line. Will be one of the ones to watch for title hopes.
Absolutely. Danson put up a very good season in the Xfinity car just in the year gone by, 2024. As we closed out the year, he did very well, won a couple of races throughout the season. Definitely has been in contention all year and looks to be starting off strong here in the Australian NASCAR Championships. But it's also Daytona, Scott. Anything could happen here. Driver all the way back where Jason Holdsworth is in 27th place could be the winning car.
See, the thing about that, Bryce, is you sit there and you say that, and I go, man, I want the guys to be able to sit down and may the best driver win. Well, it's not the case in a super speedway field. It's you're a little bit. I get claustrophobic in the sim. I got to be honest with you. I get claustrophobic at my super speedways. It's just there's too much going on.
There's not a lot of room for error, especially once you start getting higher and higher in the levels of competition where you're racing closer and closer. One misstep especially in the longer races. We saw it at the Daytona 500 charity event. The longer the races go on, the more fatigued these drivers are feeling. It gets even worse once you're going faster and faster, getting higher and higher in iRating. I can tell you that. Daytona weeks generally have a lot of crashes, just because people can't handle being around cars that close for that long. Ooh, little wobble there from the 12. Loses a bit of momentum down the back straight. I think he may have just clipped the inside, either that or it was a bump, and we just didn't see it. This camera was facing backwards, but a little wobbly there from Zatka.
I haven't had the opportunity to witness the Xfinity Series racing from this weekend, but I do recall last year, bump drafting in the Xfinity cars was banned. So it was really interesting watching the cars move around and trying to make momentum, take momentum away from each other. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, this is your first NASCAR race in the Australian Series, first and foremost. Jump on board and give the socials a follow. The big reason we say that, we've got an action-packed calendar to bring you the start of the season, and that's going to carry right the way through as well. So I'm looking forward to ANC's big first season. And additionally, if this is your first ever NASCAR event that you're getting the opportunity to witness, there's a lot of things that you'll have to get used to. First and foremost, the cars are not set up to be even on both sides. You might see them when you jump into the cockpit. They might be going in a straight line, but they might have a little bit of left-hand down, Bryce. They're asymmetrical in terms of the setup.
They are. You're generally running different suspension geometry as well in these cars, just to help further that one. The toe on the left, on the right side of the car, that's different as well. Building a setup for these cars is interesting, as we have a bit of three-wide action here. Ryan Jones is going to slip around the outside of the 20 of Smith. He's lost a bit of momentum. Stephen Williams has gone up to give him a bit of support, so third line looks to be forming. Whether it yields any results, we'll have to see as they come down towards the front straight. Doesn't look like it. Looks like all the momentum left the outside line. Now the middle line a bit worse for wear now. After
was poorly timed from both Stephen Williams and Ryan Jones in the outside line, and now they're trying to still get back up there, but the big key at the moment is that Dave Douglas sits to their inside and Brenton West is just in front of them, so momentum's going to build as they run down the back straightaway, as they continue to try and build the momentum on the outside. Williams has got to run here. West is going to move up and try to initiate the side draft. It's going to be Sam Smith who leads the middle lane, and we are 3-2. At the moment, momentum's starting to build. The longer they hang their way up here, the inside lane is forming, but this is going to provide an opportunity. A few cars a little bit further back. I'm taking a little bit of a look at the 89 machine of Wayne Burke, who's considering moving towards that outside lane and going to support it. At the moment, just the two-man chain on the outside.
It's a big gamble for the cars further back. Do they put stock into this third lane? Will the DPR boys keep running there if they were to go up them and give them that third car for support? Or will they just drop down once they get to the front of the lead lane and then you'll be high and dry? It's a choice right now for the drivers further behind, whether they jump up to help or keep the status quo here. It looks to be all stations hold for the rest of the field. No one willing to jump up there just yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see someone jump up there or the two DPR cars drop further back and re-slot in that upper lane.
Well, the big issue at the moment is Ryan Jones has now got some separation, not able to lend as much support as he necessarily would have liked to Stevie Williams at the moment. And that's allowed the middle lane to surge once again. Jones is going to crack the throttle and move into the middle lane. What he's trying to do at the moment is he's trying to back Wayne Burke up and provide a hole for Stevie Dub to slot in. And he has managed to do so. So a little bit of cheeky team play there from the Simrigs DPR boys. Tried to find some momentum. Costs them a little bit of track position for now. But they are lined up is the big key. No one willing to go to support them. And that says we are still a little too early for pushing on here, Bryce.
Absolutely. We're not even a quarter way through the race yet. So I can understand from the rest of the field that we don't want to get involved in that high line just in case something happens. More risk of a wreck happening. So I can see why drivers would not like to go there. I can also see the benefit in trying to make that move work. If Ryan Jones and Stephen Williams pulled that one off, they would have been taking off to the front of the pack and probably leading the race from there on until the green flag, until what will hopefully be a green flag stop.
And the big thing, I think, for the rest of the field is they did not want to see the success of that move from the Simrigs DPR boys. And the reason for that is then you've got teammates controlling a lane. That starts to put a little bit of control in the field. I can talk to you about the calendar that we've got coming our way. First race here tonight, 15th of February, 80 laps from Daytona. Then we're going to get our first short track of the season underway. We'll head on over to 150 laps at Phoenix Motor Speedway, which will start. Well, look at things. It looks like that one might be a daytime race. From there on, we're heading to my favourite track in the sim. And unfortunately, a track that's now been paved, and they've paved paradise and put up a parking lot, is the song I Will Sing Off Into the Sunset. Auto Club will make the race number 3 of our calendar for the 2-mile intermediate before we head to Iowa in our second short track of the season. The world's fastest short track is the way that they love to term the track in the middle of the cornfields of Iowa for 150 laps. Texas, another 1.5 miler, we'll head to on the 3rd of May for 150 laps of the 1.5 mile racetrack in the desert of Texas. Before we head to Dover for week 6, that will kick off after the halfway mark of the year. Sorry, my apologies if I've been getting dates wrong. I have been getting dates wrong. I've been reading you the sim dates. My apologies. We're going to back it up. So Daytona here today on the 16th of February. The 2nd of March is going to play host to Phoenix. 16th of March for Auto Club. Iowa will be on the 30th of March. 13th of April for Texas. Dover will be on the 27th of April. Before we head to the 11th of May, Kansas, another track I thoroughly enjoy for 125 laps of the 1.5 mile circuit. After that, we are off to the home of NASCAR. Charlotte Motor Speedway will play host to week 8 of the season, 125 laps on the 25th of April. A great way to celebrate. Well, my apologies, it's 25th of May. I was going to say it was a great way to celebrate Anzac Day, but it'll be 1 month too late. Michigan will play host to the 9th race of the season on the 8th of June. 22nd of June will be Pocono, and my second favourite racetrack on the NASCAR service for 80 laps there. Chicago Street Course, and that will be a hotly contested topic on the 6th of July. 20th of July will see us go to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Oval for 100 laps of another of the 2.5 milers. And finally, week number 13, we will conclude back here at Daytona on the 3rd of August. That is before we get to the playoffs, which kick off thereafter. And we've got ourselves 2 rounds of playoffs and a championship finale, Bryce. And that's going to be exciting as well to decide our first ever Australian NASCAR champion.
I'm looking forward to the playoffs. It's a long way until then, but it's going to be exciting once we hit that playoff week, first playoff weekend in August. So we see a couple of movements here for the lead. The 20 slotting into the lead of the bottom lane and the lead of the race. That's Smith. He'll drop down, and a new leader on the outside lane of West, Brenton West. He's gained 16 positions here tonight, so big moves from some of the drivers who started further in the pack, further back in the pack. Yeah, going back to it, it's going to be exciting to see the first Australian NASCAR champion crowned, Australian NASCAR E-Series champion crowned. Yeah, obviously the award presented at the Motorsport Australia Awards as well, and then we'll do it all again the year after, and the year after that, hopefully. So a lot of exciting racing to come.
Well, an update for one of the drivers, unfortunately, running down at the tail end of the field, and this has been an ongoing issue that Jason Holmesworth really, there is not a whole lot that he can do about. Internet issues early on has put the driver of the number 8 Nitro racing machine 4 laps down. Here he is circulating. The exit of turn 2 over here at the moment. Originally from Sydney, but now living out of the Philippines. Started in 23rd position after setting a qualifying time a little bit off the pace. And it's not gotten much better from there for Jason. Capable of winning races on his day. And a mentor to myself, so I've got a lot of time for Jason. Other drivers on the move. Sam Smith has done a phenomenal job to move his way to the head of the field.
It's unfortunate to see Jason had a good race Thursday night in our truck series, coming home in P2. Unfortunately, the internet has been an issue for him in the past, and it's plaguing him again tonight. Probably in the most important race of the season, really. You want to start off with a good result. It is a super speedway, so there always is the possibility of green flag, of yellow flag, or cautions, I should say, coming out and getting him his lap back via the Lucky Dog system. But with the quality of this field, I'm not seeing many of those flowing out tonight as we turn over 26 laps now and heading on to the 27th. Oh, sorry, we're on the back straight, not the front straight. I'm wrong, we're on the 27th lap.
So already a quarter of the way through this run and past halfway on the fuel tanks, expecting pit stops at any time from lap 40 onwards. Brad Newman's going to resort to pushing duties after leading a good chunk of the laps thus far. Opportunity, Bryce, to take a walk through the field and look for tonight's best presented car, because we're going to be seeing these liveries a lot, and there's a little bit of airtime at the moment. Who can go wrong with trying to fill the fuel into the puppy's ear for Sam Smith?
I don't think you can, unless you spray it all over the side of the car and cause a fire in pit lane. But that is one of the better looking cars, I must say. It's a good graphic, good layout. I don't mind looking at a cute dog on a car or two, so I'm all for that. Couple of staples in the series that we've seen before: the Jinx Shifters cars, the Simbrig DPR cars, and Matt Danson's VRS Altus Engineering car. They're all pretty similar to the liveries we've seen from those drivers in the past. Couple of new ones, the Conti car there, the 11. Dave Douglas in a Nitro branded car. That's new, obviously getting picked up by Nitro over the break. Jinx Shifters there. Now we've got the Team Conti car up top in the 21. Another Nitro car of Mickelmore. Another pickup with Dave Douglas for the Nitro Racing team. Couple of changes for the SRM Motorsports. Lockie Cujo running the same teal, but with a bit of purple this time on his car. A lot of really nice looking liveries in the field tonight.
And a few changes at the front end of the field, as Henry King has managed to push Brenton West to the head of the field, and they're going to drop down and fill in the inside lane. But remember, that's exactly what Stephen Williams and Ryan Jones wanted to happen, because that's allowed them to move to the head of the outside lane.
Yep, and now the teammates control the lane, and that's what the field probably didn't want to see. Especially with Andrew Dyson creeping his way forward in that outside lane as well. He's just at the tail end of it now, but if he gets up there, those three cars are going to be a bit of an unstoppable force. As they say that, they move down to the lead of the inside lane. So looking to control this race.
Worthwhile noting as well, we had an update to pass on, but Wayne Burke, previously of Synergy Sim Racing, and outdated data for us here tonight.
Ooh, with three wide here, sorry to cut you off, Scotty. With three wide, Brad Newman sending it down the middle, putting it in between the 52 and the 89 now, looking to make a run for the lead of the outside lane here, all on his own. Going to open the door. That's 21. We're close to contact here.
And there was another car that's going to try and sneak on through. It's Lewis Greathead who's dived to that middle lane as well. So he will start to make a whole host of speed. The big question will be, does he elect to support Ryan Newman? I did hear somebody dragging on the outside barriers on the run down to turn number 1. And Sam Chapman has made a move to move his car a little bit further forward. So correction to what we said earlier on. Wayne Burke, no longer of Synergy Sim Racing, has made a move and joins the Vermilion Esports outfit. And you'll find that reflected in their paint as well. And Newman's not happy with these guys controlling the race, so he's decided to jump back in and take control.
Brad Newman, good move there, arguably to take control back of this race. If he let the Simrigs DPR boys form up, especially getting Dyson further and further towards the front of the field, it could have gotten spicy for anyone else's hopes of winning this race. Once you sort of get 3 cars connected, it can be a bit to overcome, especially after the pit stops. Newman right now deciding, no, this is my race, I want to lead it. Stuff fuel saving, I'm ready to go.
I think he just wants a little bit of control. Brad Newman tends to like to be right towards the pointy end of things. Run now starts to build on the outside lane. Great Head's going to take the momentum and take the initiatives.
It's not as formed up. The third car, the 0-3 of Gilbert, just hanging back a little bit too far, not able to put the momentum on the back of the 7 that they'll need to make a challenge for the lead of the race. But they're hanging in there on the outside just with the momentum. You can see only 5 cars electing to run that outside line. Everyone else is single file. At least in the pictures we have here.
Worthwhile noting an update on the Jason Holdsworth for all you Jason Holdsworth fans. Has rejoined the back of the pack at 5 laps down. So if he's going to make his way back to the lead, he's going to need cautions aplenty, and it's going to need to kick off from about any time now, or else he's going to be relegated to last running car. Unfortunately, there's not a lot more he can do about that.
Unfortunately so. Even if they started happening now, we'd need them to happen pretty quick, one after the other, because anyone else who goes a lap down in front of him and is able to rejoin the race, they're going to be in the spot for that lucky dog before him, so they need to happen pretty quickly, one after another. So I'd say tonight is Jason Holdsworth's night just to get familiar with the field, see who's going to run clean, who's going to race a bit harder, and maybe just take it in as a feeler. I don't think there's much more he can do to salvage this race.
And therein lies the big thing, is not much more that he can do, unfortunately.
It's the unfortunate reality of a super speedway. If you go a couple laps down, it's not like you're getting those laps back with clever pit strategy or tyre wear, when tyres aren't going to wear here throughout the 80 laps. I don't think you even see the drivers bother to change them.
And as normally happens at this point in time, the super speedway dies down a little bit as Lewis Greathead gets pushed out to the lead at the moment.
Yeah, we're pushing halfway. We're going to be seeing drivers teeing up for their pit stops soon. Next 5 to, I'd say, about 8 laps, we'll see cars start to look towards getting down to that inside, then getting down to pit road. Now, Scotty, pit road's going to be where this race is won and lost. If we get a green flag stop, I hope so. But anything can change in 7 laps, but green flag pit stop, it's going to be where it's won and lost. Have the drivers been practicing getting into their box? Well, we'll find out in a few short laps' time.
Yeah, that'll be the big thing, is trying to get the car warmed up for pit lane. But you can see, as we get closer and closer to time for pit stops, that the front of the field has been significantly more hotly contested. Drivers are not going to be able to pit from that outside lane. Their only options: push themselves to the lead and then drop into the bottom lane, or run longer on the fuel.
Third option, create a spot for yourself. Try and force your way back down.
Update from the YouTube chat. Shout out to Ben Henniker. Enjoying the telecast from the Boring Hospital. Go Cobalt Racing. Bowen and Sheridan. Somebody get that man a sim rig in his hospital bed.
I can get a Logitech G500 there within the hour.
The difficulty will be getting in the PC and the monitors required to go racing. But hey, we'll get something sorted.
Just throw him in a VR headset and a little NUC computer. I'm sure it will have no graphical power to run a VR, but it is a computer and it may work.
I was going to say, if Doom can be run on a fridge, surely we can play iRacing off a fridge.
Maybe. I'm not too sure about the fridge spec, but... It'd be like watching a TikTok video.
Look, to again venture outside the realms of motorsport again, I've definitely seen Doom running inside of Minecraft.
That's impressive.
It's possible to do anything.
Just saying, as it's possible to do anything. The 21 and the 7, they slot down into the lead of the race, so they've got themselves sorted. Now the 3 cars left on the top, they'll have to figure out what they're going to do for the pit stop here just shortly. It's going to be Aaron Gilbert in the lead of that outside line as we see Brad Newman dart to the outside. He wants to stay in the lead of this race before the pit stops.
Brad Newman never sits still for long.
Absolutely not. He does not want to relinquish control of this race whatsoever, and even if that means he has to do it himself, no support from the 03 right now, side drafting the 21 all the way down the back straight.
Here we go,
and there goes Gilbert, turned by Dyson. Dyson's around, it's the caution flag flying.
That's going to kick it all off. Caution flag number 1 in sight of the first pit stop is going to be the big one. And the first of what I hope will not be many, but at the same time, it could be many over multiple seasons. Aaron Gilbert gets turned around by Andrew Dyson.
41 just getting turned there. Oh, the 41 just getting into the back of the 03. Just a bit too hard going into turn 3. Not the greatest time. It tempers.
So the big thing to watch here, Bryce, and for the fans, is the 03's closing on Brad Newman's number 1 car, and then he needs to slow up because you can't push the pusher. And I don't know that Dyson recognized how close he was. Have a look at the wreck avoidance from everyone else in behind.
Looked pretty good for the 03 and the 41 to actually avoid that barrier on the outside. I think Dyson may have tagged it. He just gets a bit over eager here pushing the 03. He's out of shape. Really should just let him settle his car back down, but Dyson continues, pushes him off the left rear quarter panel and sends him around. But probably not the move.
Right rear quarter damage for the 47 machine, and Aaron Gilbert's 03 is going to have significant right rear damage to his car. Not quarter damage, directly on the right rear corner. You can just see the rotation. You can tell from Aaron Gilbert that he was trying to back it off.
I'd say it's a bit too eager to push him through that corner. Definitely not the play. Alas, we got our pit stops coming in just right on the window. For anyone who was planning on pitting on lap 40, this is a great scheduled caution flag. Save a little bit more fuel. We'll see cars start to leave. This 21. He's going to come out in the lead of the race. Brad Newman looks to have jumped into second, beating the 7 out of the pit lane. So a couple of other drivers swapping positions in the pits as we race out. Drivers trying to get as much track position as they can. A little bit of damage repair in some cars as well.
Take ourselves a short break here as well. Now that pit stops have been completed, the field will be neutralized. We'll be back on the green flag in just a few moments. Thanks. Welcome back, ladies and gents. As we stepped away and grabbed a few moments to catch our breath. The big thing here tonight, of course, is that 80 laps the duration. Right on the halfway mark, we got ourselves the first caution of the night. Lewis Greathead is going to lead us off pit lane. That means that he is going to have control of the field. But the big one, Brad Newman, stays on the front row. He's led a lot of laps here tonight as Brad Newman. 19 of the 42 thus far. We'll have him in line to lead the most laps. Bonus points on offer for taking pole position and leading laps. And he looks set to do so. Few drivers have just ducked back down pit lane, some of them for some damage repairs, some of them to top off on fuel.
Definitely not a bad idea to top off on fuel here. We do have green-white checkers at the end of this race, so if a caution comes out towards the end, having a bit of extra petrol in the tank is not going to hurt. A couple of drivers, as you said, fixing repairs. Daytona has a very long pacing lap, so you can get a lot of damage fixed. If you have about a minute 45, you should be able to get that fixed if you pit with the rest of the field under that first caution.
I think a big thing for us here tonight, Bryce, again, is that we welcome in the wider Australian motorsports community. I mean, you want our ovals? Green-white checkers. What the heck are those?
Well, green-white checkers, it's a little bit of added time, so it's kind of like extra minutes in soccer. I should say, I was about to say football. Extra minutes, extra play on minutes. We have the caution flag come out if it's close enough to the end of the race, about 3 laps to. We'll restack the field. They'll pace around the pace car. Pace car will come off. They'll have a green flag. There's the green. And then they'll come around. Everything all good. They'll get the white flag. And then that's the last lap of the race. And they'll finish under that white flag. If there's another caution before the white flag, we'll restack everyone again. And we'll go again. We will have a limit of 3 of those here tonight. So after the 3rd attempt, if we go yellow again, the race will end under caution.
And forgive the accent, but I love talking about them. They call them NASCAR Overtime. As we go back to green flag racing here at the Daytona International Speedway. Now, just after 6 p.m. local time, as NASCAR Xfinity Series cars wind up and go back to green flag racing. I had the due pleasure this morning of listening to John Heinhoff refer to them as NASCAR Infinity cars. And who am I to correct the great man?
Well, some of these cars, I've seen them go to infinity and beyond when they get crashed out. So, but
Done, Bryce.
I'm glad you liked my joke so much, Scott. But
Hey.
no, we got back to racing. The 21, he's going to move back to the leading that outside line. Got Wayne Burke just behind, giving it's a little bit antsy here. 7 of Chapman as well, trying to stay as close to the rear quarter of the 21 as possible, get that side draft in. Doesn't really need to. He's the 3rd car in line. Just put him. But it looks like he may want to move up to the outside line.
Well, 43 laps complete and on our 41st circuit. Means that we're beyond the halfway point. The benefit for you race fans means that from here on out, we do expect the race to get a lot more intense. Fuel saving part of the race is now done.
Well, you could still be fuel saving if you want to. It just means you're not going to win the race. But anyone who wants to go racing is going to be going pretty much from the jump.
Meantime, again, Newman control. Newman's the big thing about Brad Newman is he's looked in control, both pushing and being pushed. He's never looked out of shape with the nudges that he's been giving. And there's been a couple other cars. Brenton West didn't look like he was capable of being pushed quite as hard.
It didn't look like it. Newman has a lot of skill in all forms of oval racing. If you've ever gotten the pleasure to race him in the sim, you'll know he's quite aggressive, but he's always pretty fair.
Matt Danson's going to jump out of line and move to the top side of the racetrack, looking for a little bit of support. I'm going to point out at this point in time that our producer is trying to get involved in our commentary. He's giving me shenanigans in the background, pointing out that I could be out there, but I'm not. I love when a producer gets involved, so it's going to make for a spicy season. Danson's trying to make some momentum on the outside lane, and he's connected up with Josh Mickelmore as well. That'll be two of the bigger names that you're likely to see across the season rolling on the top lane. At the moment, trying to find some pace as they're going to try and push back to the outside of the 42 machine of Urquijo. And they have indeed found some momentum. Danson's going to find the barrier. And
there's a wall grind.
Put paid to that.
That's bonnet damage now. Oh, the 42's now going to take his turn to lead that third lane. See if the Danson can be a better pusher than he was getting pushed.
Oh, Keisho's going to wobble all about as they enter turn 3. Looking for a lane to work with. Nearly ended in disaster. Ryan Jones has taken control of the inside lane ahead of Brad Newman.
Outside lane was just having a bit of trouble there getting sorted out. You see the 16 darts up a little bit higher on entry to the corner. Maybe trying to cool off his engine. It's not working. Fitzroy Beaumont, another, I believe, Vermilion car out there this evening. Quickly fact check myself off on that one. Melbourne man, just like myself. Probably like myself, but
I mean, I was doing laps earlier in the day, Bryce, whilst on a team with a guy driving a GT4 at Bathurst with a guy from Bathurst.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Fitzroy's not my favourite subject, but I'll give him a pass. So,
Brad Newman moving up to commence the side draft.
A little bit of contact there as well.
Vermilion pace on the outside line.
42 darts to the outside. Lucky Akujo gets a little bit of a door for his troubles. Stalls his momentum just enough. Stays off the barrier, but he's losing ground here now. So he's going to drop back to the end of this train, trying to find a spot to slide into. Zach Kerr's made his way to the outside line as well.
It says to me that Lachlan's detecting the paces. Something's about to happen. That's him going, yeah, I want out of this. As he goes sliding back, it's not like him to want to give up track position. And for the field at the moment, if you have a look, they're mostly side by side. Lucky Dog, by the way, taken by Jason Holdsworth, and Matt Danson's done enough supporting. He's going to drop to the top lane, and he is going to try and pick up some support. And as the top lane broke down, the Vermilion Motorsports drivers drop to the bottom. Might be an opportunity for the Altus Engineering driver to move to the outside lane and build a run for himself. And this might have been the hole that he was looking for.
I think it is. Danson wanted to lead that outside lane. Have a feeling he thinks he's faster than these Vermilion cars. Just wants to get away. He doesn't want to get caught behind Ryan Jones there. Ryan Jones now going to be left out in a lurch just in that middle lane. Brad Newman deciding where to go. You'll see the Simrigs DPR guys. They'll form into the middle lane. We're going to have a 3-wide race here on Mickelmore. Tries to move down. Gets a little bit of a tap there. 11 just sneaking his way back through. It's spicing up here tonight at Daytona. We're going to establish ourselves 3 wide now. Vermilion on the bottom, DPR in the middle, and a collection of Nexus Nitro and Altus Engineering on the top lane. It's all getting a bit spicy here, Scotty.
Well, Now that we're outside of that fuel window, racing has commenced in earnest. And now, how about the 13 machine looking for a little bit of momentum? The lanes are breaking up left, right, and center. Simrig's DPR jumped to the lead on the bottom lane. And now the Vermilion Esports drivers are going to have to line up in behind them. Newman's trying to make a run, and he's going to have to find some pace with the 13 machine. They'll push their way back to control of the middle lane. And what you're seeing at the moment, ladies and gentlemen, is the ego of the big teams playing out on the greatest stage, Daytona International Speedway, at high speeds on the high banking.
I think Newman wants to work with Danson here. Danson and Newman, they've been racing against each other throughout the Australian NASCAR E-Series, Xfinity Series that we had on Tuesday nights last year.
Oh, Newman don't want to work with him no more. And Brad Newman's going to shoot the hole in the middle. There's going to be contact. Danson makes contact with the 13 machine. And Brenton West goes from leading the lane to on his own.
Shuffled out, evicted from that middle lane, if you will. Just not able to hang with Danson and Newman when they decided to take that space on the inside, or in the middle lane. Just forced out wide, has to drop back, slots back in behind the 10 of Dave Douglas now. And here's the push I was talking about from Danson on Newman. They're going to build momentum around this outside line. It's on here tonight at Daytona International Speedway.
And now we are going to catch the lap traffic. Lachlan Mead is spending some time on pit lane, trying to get a functional race car back out onto the racetrack. He is now 9 laps off the pace, and that is going to be 10 laps off the pace for the driver of the number 19 car, who will stay out of the way of the field.
Good driving there from Lachlan Mead, coming out of the pit lane, recognizing the field was coming by, staying below the yellow line, letting them all go through so no incidents happen. Good heads-up driving from one of the best drivers here in Australia. We've got 25 laps remaining, Scotty. 25. That's all we have to run here tonight. And we've already had racing super hot. Are we going to move to super hot or extra hot?
Well, there's mild, there's medium, and there's spicy, I believe. And the spiciest thing of the night might be clicking the subscribe button. You might find yourself back here each and every week, enjoying yourself. The temptation to take that joke that we just heard in our head and run so many different places with it. It's going to be a good season working with our production.
Oh, it's going to be great.
When you take a look at that calendar, Bryce, is there any race on the schedule that you're looking forward to more than any other?
I'm looking forward to Auto Club, and not just because I'm a big fan of Auto Club myself.
Good man.
I just find it so appealing. There's so many lanes you can run later in the race that it's just beautiful. It's a draft track. You have to stay on the draft to make it work, but it's not a super speedway. You actually have to, well, I say you actually have to have skill. Like plate racing doesn't take skill. It does take skill at this level to effectively navigate a plate race, but it's just a different breed of racing at Auto Club. It's why I love it. I'm looking forward the most for that race. How about you, Scotty? I'm going to reverse the question back at you. What are you looking forward to? And it can't be Auto Club now.
It's Auto Club. I'm sorry. I claimed Auto Club earlier on. You didn't hear me. You know what we should really challenge these drivers with? And it's actually something, a car and track combination I have experience commentating, would you believe, but the Xfinity cars from Mount Panorama.
It would be a good show. Long Beach, another one, would be good. Long Beach, that's a fun street circuit.
Let me pass you this question. With NASCAR returning to Mexico this year and going to the Mexico City circuit, is there any track that our fans would love to see NASCAR attend? Remembering that Fuji was designed to be a NASCAR super speedway.
Was it Fuji that was designed for that, or was
it? It was, yep, because you can see the remnants of the banking they were starting to build. It was going to be designed to be a 2.5 mile super speedway. Instead, we got left with the incredibly long front straightaway.
Yeah,
It was one of the remnants of it.
I never knew that. I thought that would be the honor of Twin Wind Motegi, being the only Japanese oval that we can actually go race on the service. It's one of my favorite tracks. A couple of IndyCar leagues have run there. It's good fun.
Blasphemy. You shall not say that word now. As an IndyCar fan myself, you shall not say that word around NASCAR people.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And they're going to settle themselves in once more. I'm going to have to sit down. I'm going to have to sit down and do some finger pointing at you later on, Bryce.
Oh,
you said a dirty
sorry.
word.
Well, I'm a bit disappointed though. The racing's chilled out. It's like someone's put too much coconut milk in my spicy curry and it's watered down the flavor. I really want to see this kick off again. We got 20 laps. May as well make it interesting, right? We'll see it in a couple laps' time. I'm not too worried.
Settle ourselves down as the cars pass the start-finish line for one more lap. 21 more laps now left.
Yellow, yellow, yellow.
And
that's the second caution.
Second
That's
yellow of the
a big
night.
incident.
Going to come out for an incident towards the tail end of the field. Lachlan Mead's going to get a little bit of luck. And if Jason Holmesworth has kept his car clean, he'll move his way to 3 laps down. 20 laps on the board. If we go green, white checkers here, Bryce, there might be an opportunity for the Nitro Racing driver from the Philippines to get himself back onto the lead lap. How did it all unfold, though, at the tail end of the field? The view on board from Matty Ray says that it happened in the middle of the pack.
03 heavily involved. His bonnet's somewhere in the infield. Can someone go get that for me? I want to hang it on my wall. Because that's going to be a prize later on this evening. It looks like the 03 involved. Brenton West as well. Looks like the 7. The 20 tags the 13. They come down the track. 7 just evades death. 03 goes high and there's a door. Nearly avoids, but clips the inside. Darren McKenzie, nowhere he can really go. The number 6 is involved as well. Not much he can do either. A couple of drivers just making it down to that inside apron, getting out of it. Loculin Acugio, he barely survives. Same with the 38. Ooh,
after racing Lockie for so
cheeks.
long, you'd think that we would have figured out how to say his last name. I still don't know how to say his last name. I'm going to have to ask him. We will get that opportunity throughout the season, I am sure. But the 03 machine... We're running on board with Aaron Gilbert at the moment. You can just see there's a hole there underneath the 13 machine, and it's the 7 that moves up from the bottom lane. So Sam Chapman's triggered that one, but you get a feeling that there just might have been a low pressure zone around those cars that sucked them together just a little bit as well. Chapman shouldn't have been there. Should have definitely been a lot closer to the bottom of the racetrack, and so I'll pin the blame on him, but
he just gets in there.
There's a
looks
hole
to be under that line. The 13 drops a little bit. Yeah, it's probably not on there. Probably like it could sneak a car in there. Not really ideal. Sit back. Comes there. Yeah, 7 comes up the bottom of the racetrack, forces the 20 up a little bit more, so he avoids contact with him, causing contact with the 13. Yeah. Sam Smith luckily didn't get more involved in that. Left the consequences behind him. I'd say the 7 has to take some responsibility there coming off the bottom lane as well. Heavy damage for the 03. I'd say that's that's probably his night done with 19 laps to go. Didn't have too many cushions. We did have a fair few more in the Daytona 500 charity race. Only 2 for the 80 laps here tonight would be a very good result.
Back on the yellow.
Go back
for the second time tonight. And I'll ask you this. At the moment, Bryce, Newman's been electing to try and control the lanes. The DPR cars have managed to line themselves up, and the Vermilion cars have managed to line themselves up. Danson's made a crack at running into the top 5 a couple of times. If you were to red flag it right now and call the race, you'd pick Ryan Jones because he's lined up directly behind the safety car. but we're going to go green again. Who is your pick with under 20 laps to go?
There's still a lot of time left in this race. DPR cars are probably one of the strongest teams out there tonight. Danson and Newman, if they can link up, they can do some really good racing. We've seen how Newman can push. We've seen how Danson can push during other races in the Australian NASCAR E-Series. So there's anyone in this top 10, really, even just a bit further out. Douglas, he's a good crack for the win tonight. Won the Daytona 500 charity event not more than a week ago. So really interesting. I'm avoiding the question.
That's enough sitting on the fence. That's enough sitting on the fence. You must step onto one side of the fence. Pick one.
I'm going to say Matt Danson. I'm going to do tricks on Danson. I'll go do tricks on Danson. I've given him a lot of praise last week. But I think he's got a good shot at winning tonight's race. How about you, Scotty? Who do you think?
Look, I think Ryan Jones is the easy pick. He certainly looked the strongest of the cars thus far tonight. But the driver, I'm probably sitting here and say, although something's just changed my decision, and it's the fact that I've just seen there's a massive bit of damage to the right rear corner of Ryan Jones's car. I'm going to say Andrew Dyson.
Dyson. That's a good shout. Dyson made his way from 27th position tonight. It's not really setting a good time. Don't think he even set a time in qualifying. I don't know. I wasn't there. Scott, you have to tell me. But he's made his way up to the front. Not really a surprise if you knew Dyson. But winning the race, maybe. He's in good company, is what I'll say. His teammates are all there to help him out.
Hello to all our race fans watching
guys.
along at home tonight. I've just been joined by my dog, named after my favourite car on the service, Indy. I didn't say the bad word. That's her name. That's just her name. Right, we're going to be going back to green flag racing here tonight. It's been a long day where I'm located. I hope you're all sitting down and enjoying the first race of the Australian NASCAR Championships. And we're going to go green here with under 20 laps left to run. Green flags in the air. We are back to racing with the Australian NASCAR Championships, proudly brought to you by Motorsports Australia Esports, and the SimRigs DPR cars looking to line up at the front, and Brad Newman here to spoil the DPR party.
He's there to spoil it, but he's just on that inside line. Doesn't let Stevie Williams fall in. So Stevie's going to have to make his way to the front of that outside lane, getting a lot of momentum there from the Vermilion Motorsports crew. They'll push him to the front. Stephen Williams, he will take the opportunity to drop down as soon as he can get clear of the 11, I would think. Then it'll be Vermilion on the outside. Brad Newman trying to force the inside, middle lane to work. Doesn't get it that time. We'll have to try again next time. But for now, we're running 2 lanes. I'd say they'll go to 3 lanes if Brad Newman can do anything about it. And I think we'll see Matt Danson follow him through.
I was going to counter here and say I think there'll be a concerted effort to box Newman in and break any opportunity he has to build a run. Inside lane rebuilding in terms of momentum as Ryan Jones is going to pop back out and look to lead. Newman's going to sit in the middle, 3 wide, gets aggressive. There was not a third car's with a space. SimRigs DPR cars. Williamson and Jones connect. The teammates take each other out. And we're back under caution. There'll be 15 laps to go when they cross the stripe.
Doing exactly what you just said there, Scotty. They were trying to box in Newman. They came down, came up, not really communicating too well. A bit too much overlap from both these cars. You'll see it on the screen just in a moment. But Newman just put enough pressure on the DPR cars to force them into a mistake.
And Wayne Burke got spooked out of blocking the run to the middle. That opens the hole. And you know what? They both went to block it at the same time. The miscommunication from the SimRigs DPR teammates finds them both looking to block the run to the middle.
Can't even get my fanboy sign up in the commentary box for the Matt Danson. It's unfortunate, mate. But we
You're
see this
showing it-
incident happening again. Watch this. Coming to block that run. Uh-oh. 2 cars into one. And the worst
Well,
part,
Shall we
Danson
call it
was
the Newman
uninvolved.
effect? Shall we call it the Newman effect? And the reason I'm going to sit down and I'm going to say it is because look at what it's done to the drivers around him. This is a team that is strong enough to win the race on their own. Newman is causing these wrecks by existing.
His presence, Newman has an aura about him. You know, if you give him a bit of space, he's gonna do it. He doesn't even have to touch anyone in this. They just crash in front of him. He just
Mind
existed, and he's
The
gone.
mind punt in full effect.
Man, I wish I could have this level of aura on a racetrack. This is great.
One day, Bryce. One day. We can train you. It's going to take years of hard training. Get the weights. Start lifting weights now. We'll get you there.
I'm not that bad. Come on, I can hold my own.
Pit stops
Sweet.
coming thick and fast at the moment. And the big thing for me is the Simrigs DPR cars diving a pit lane to take some repairs. We're back under caution with 14 laps left to run. And time, another word from the sponsors.
Yep. And we're back after our short commercial break. We'd like to thank Motorsports Australia for putting this on for us, allowing us to run the Australian NASCAR Championships here tonight. Now, Scotty, it's 14 laps to go. Going to come out of caution soon. Brad Newman, he's in a good position to win. So is Matt Danson now. That is a really good result for me on who I'm picking to win. Who are you picking to win? I think you said it was going to be Brad Newman.
Well, no, I said it was
No,
going to
you
be...
you picked Dyson.
I picked Dyson. Now, it's worthwhile noting that we should take a dig through the field at this point in time. As pace car lights are going to go off this time by. We'll move to double file. We'll be restarting next time by. It'll be 12 to go when we go back to green flag racing. Updates to the field. For the Cobalt Racing fans, Alexander Sheridan, after damage one of the early incidents, moves to 1 lap down. Jason Holdsworth is at 3 laps down, has managed to pick his way back 2 laps up from being 5 laps down. Aaron Gilbert's returned to the racing surface after his contact in the previous caution. And now at 4 laps down, and Lachlan Mead rounds out the final running driver here tonight at 10 laps down. Those are your 4 drivers that have encountered issues here tonight and off the lead lap.
It's good. Look at the running order. It's still quite hotly contested up here in the top 10. You got Great Head. He's currently at the front. Had good pace all night. You got Newman. Don't have to say anything about him. Sheer utter aura from Brad Newman here on display tonight. You got in Burke in the 89. Very good road course driver. Won at Watkins Glen when he first started racing here in the series. You got Dyson just behind. We've seen what he can do. Was the only Simrigs DPR car not to crash into another one during that little kerfuffle on the back straight. You got Fitzroy Beaumont also showing good pace throughout the evening. Matt Danson. I will do tricks on Matt Danson until the end of time. He's a great driver, and I believe he's going to win this race from the 6th position. Bit further on back, you got Micklemore and Chapman. Chapman, unfortunately, had a little bit of an incident earlier on with the number 20 car of Sam Smith, and then the 03 up higher in the line. You got Micklemore in the 31. He's also a good shout to win. But we're looking to go green here very shortly. Pace car lights are off. We're running down to the triover now. Scotty, Big one for this one. Could be the last time we have the pace car out tonight.
Yeah, here's hoping as we're going to go back. Green flag racing. Lewis Greathead leads the inside lane. Wayne Burke giving a great push to that inside lane. And that's going to allow Brad Newman to slot in to third spot in the bottom lane. Danson slots in behind them as well. Dyson, after being second place in the outside lane, is going to chain his way into fifth overall. We'll start to build the momentum as we get back underway. Get the cars through the gears.
And there you go, Brad Newman, Matt Danson out to the outside. Going to try and push each other to the lead of this race. Where will Dyson go? Will he hang down low? Will he go up high? What's the momentum going to look like for Dyson? Will he jump out? Will he stay in? Micklemore's going to make a move out. Dyson's going to make a choice now. Does he go up? He can't. Gap's gone. He's committed to the bottom lane now.
And have a look at the names that are inside this top six as well. Lewis Greathead, newer to the oval scene, but finding his feet, finds his way, leading the Australian NASCAR Championship. Brad Newman will be to his outside. He's got assistance from Wayne Burke, a teammate on that inside line, and now Matt Danson. And have a look at the hodgepodge of teams forming in the outside lane, but drivers of some esteem as well. When you hear the names Newman, Danson, and Micklemore, you know that you've got some of the top three drivers of the Australian oval scene.
Not too far behind them is also Zach Kerr, another very quick driver in the Australian NASCAR scene. So that outside lane's looking pretty stacked. It's going to heat up within the next 5 laps or so. You'd start to see a bit more, jockeying for position in the next couple of laps. I don't want to risk it now. Caution now would not be great, but I would say you're going to see a lot heavier with the bumps in the next couple of laps.
Well, we're under 25 miles left to run, and with 10 laps to run, the last time of asking. And now the momentum is starting to build on the bottom lane. Temperatures will build in the Xfinity cars exceptionally quickly. You can only push extremely hard for a bit more than a lap. So you've got to time your run. You've got to make sure that you're managing the temperatures.
Backing up a lot there in the outside lane. Just maybe, as you're saying, they're trying to manage their temperatures. Going to let the drivers in front slide out. 7 now slides to the lead of the outside line. We're going to see Brad Newman give someone a push. I don't think he's going to be shy about it. I think he's going to introduce himself very quickly to that bumper. Take it out for dinner a bit quicker and then push it all the way to the line. Because that's where...
Well, time to drop the hammer. We've done the fuel saving bit. We've done the niceties. And now it's on with the main show. Super Speedway racing, restrictor plate racing. This is what the fans come to see in the United States of America. America's greatest race, they call it, when they launch off for the Daytona 500. And that will happen in the real world later on this evening. Kiwi that we've claimed as our own, Shane Van Gisbergen, will be joining the grid. And who is going to join a huge name and a huge number of honours to be the first driver to win a race in the Australian NASCAR Championship. Newman's getting a little bit more of a bump from Danson through the corners. He recognises it's go time. Danson's going to drop to the outside lane. Chapman's got support from Newman, but where's the momentum going to come from? They've now fallen through the field. Micklemore's going to go with Danson. And everyone recognises time is running short. If you're going to put yourself in position, if you're going to build that run, it starts now. They're going to abandon Chapman in the inside lane. He's got no support. The 16 of Fitzroy Boland's going to slop to the middle groove and try and make some momentum. Contact in the front. Newman nearly goes around. They all save it. How do they all keep that one going?
Someone has rubbed the fat belly of a Buddha. I was going to say a Buddha, but I was going to replace it with a cat. And I just don't know how that's happened. It's made me stumble. I've stumbled. The field stumbled. We're still racing here this evening. I don't know where Matt Danson's gone. He's somewhere back further now, but oh my, 7 laps to go. The field fell apart. They'll have to build it back up very quickly.
And the Vermilion driver is going to elect to jump out of the inside lane. I just saw Fitzroy Beaumont slot up from the bottom lane and look to fill a hole that was forming in the middle. But the outside lane, that third lane at the top of the wall, just can't seem to build the momentum. And now they're both in the fence. Dave Douglas and Matt Danson both get a scrape on. They'll lose the momentum. Chapman's jumped to the outside now. And the urgency, the sense of urgency, 6 laps left to run. They're bumping, they're grinding down the back straight as well.
It's like a dingy dark club at 1 a.m. in the morning with all this bumping and grinding going on right now. Could not ask for a better end to this race. It's a lot of excitement packed.
And the momentum, it's got to come from somewhere. Got to build the run. Who's your dance partner? Picked the right time to jump out of line. There was a check-up in the outside lane moments ago. That might have been the time, but Matt Danson couldn't find the moment to jump out of line.
Lap car on the outside as well. We're going to throw a bit of a spanner in the works. Stays out of the way so the field gets by without incident. It's going to be the 61 here of Williams on the outside line, getting a push from the number 1 of Brad Newman. Ever so slightly. Newman's still in a hot seat for this race. Danson's worked his way back up. He's currently 5th in the outside line. Still could have an opportunity if the cars in front of him get a bit too argy-bargy. They bump and grind a little bit too hard. They could make their way through.
I'd like to point out that we had Stevie Williams at the point earlier on. We've now got
the 16
Williams.
goes into the inside.
We'll jump to the point. We've got a driver jumping below the yellow line as well, and how that will be looked at. You're not allowed to advance your position down below the yellow line. But they've managed to reform. Split in the pack now as well. 5 cars to the inside lane, 3 cars to the outside lane. And Tyler Williams will jump to the outside lane in the 61 machine. You'll see the 34 on the cars. 61 machine in the session.
Looks like the pack's trying to reform further on back. 4 laps ago, I'd say Matt Danson maybe just a bit too far away without some absolute carnage happening in front of him or a sheer dose of heroics to get up there. But it's going to be the Slipstream car on the outside. Slipstream sign-sponsored car.
Oh, Matt Danson's going to get aggressive at the back. And he is going to make some elbows. And
this is what I was saying.
Displayed, looking for a hole in the middle. Now he's going to get a bad bump. They get all out of shape. Save it once more. When we get back to the stripe, there'll be 2 more laps left to run. We're coming in sight of the final 5 miles. As we get to the stripe this time, we're in range of green-white checkers now. A yellow, we'll rack them, we'll stack them, we'll go again. But for now, the run down the main straight, and it's Tyler Williams. An unknown name in the Australian scene. He gets his nose to the fore. Lewis Greathead, his biggest challenger, on the bottom. But watch for Newman. When does the move come?
You can feel it.
Tries to show the nose to the middle. But Tyler Williams wise to that one. Newman's shown that move a few times already tonight. Now it's being taken away from him. We'll run down to turns 3 and 4. The white flag is going to be in Barney's hand. There'll be 1 more lap left to run. This race will go official if they make the stripe. Here we go. The final 2.5 miles of Australian NASCAR Championship racing. There will be no green-white checkers required from Daytona. And Greathead pops out to a lead. There's going to be a run building in the background. Keep your eyes on the Altus Engineering car of Danson. Williams gets a bad bump as they run through 1 and 2. Greathead pops out to the lead. Here comes the run. Matthew Raymond's going to go to the high side and send it 3 wide as they enter the back straight. 4 cars in the middle groove. Now Newman's trying to side draft the bottom lane. 2 Vermilion cars will lead the bottom. Here comes the hodgepodge to the top. And keep your eyes on Dyson, 3rd in line on the bottom. Where's he going to try and go? He's boxed in. Williams has no momentum. The outside's petered out. Newman's trying to find the run to the inside. Williams got a bad bump. Danson cuts it down. They're banging doors. They're 4 wide at the stripe. And Lewis Greathead takes the first race of the season.
That's a great finish here tonight at Daytona. Wrecked across the line. for 7th, 8th position. Doesn't matter. They're all racing as hard as they could to get to the end of that, to get to that stripe first. It's going to be Great Head taking home the jockeys here tonight with the P1 at Daytona. What a finish.
And here's the runoff for. The replay will tell the story. Momentum came from the bottom lane. The outside lanes couldn't get themselves organized. They all wanted to take each other's momentum. They bobbled around. They looked for the hole. Williams gets pushed 4 wide. There's no way that he'll know he's 4 wide at this point in time, and there's just not enough room. So it's going to be Great Head from Burke, from Dyson, Vermilion, Simrigs, DPR to take your podium.
Just not able to hook up on the outside line. No challenge really could be offered. It came from quite deep in the field to even get it around the outside there in the 3rd lane. But Lewis Greathead, he's going to burn it down here at Daytona. Do some donuts, son. You've earned it.
And for the first time in 2025, your Australian NASCAR Championship picks a champion from the high banks of Daytona. Home of World Motorsport. The 21 machine will bring it home in Team Conti colors for the Vermilion Motorsports outfit. And quite critically, that'll earn him some playoff points as well, which we'll talk about as the season starts to build. And when the dice can be rolled on the super speedways, you've got to make sure you're in the right place at the right time. Lewis Greathead's going to take it from Wayne Burke, and apologies about the team names there. A reminder, Burke has swapped out for Vermilion Esports, Andrew Dyson in the Simrigs DPR car from Tyler Williams. Lachlan O'Keefe will manage to get it home in 5th spot. Brad Newman, after being Mr. Aggressive himself, gets the job done in 6th. Zach Kerr from Matt Denson. Matty Ray tried to build a run late on, couldn't take it anywhere, unfortunately went backwards. Shane Bowen rounds out your top 10. Outside the 10, Sam Chapman from Jamie Ritchie Price had a nice quiet night at the office, kept himself clean for a good haul of points. Dave Douglas was another driver looking to build a run, just could not find the support he needed. Micklemore was nearly the 3rd wheel on a lot of those trains that were trying to find the momentum. Fitzroy Beaumont out of 15, Vermilion Motorsports driver, the one that is a little more unsuccessful here tonight. Ryan Jones with damage and Stevie Williams will both finish 14 seconds off the pace. And that hampered them, couldn't stay with the lead pack, 16th and 17th. Henry King, home inside of your top 20. 19th and 20th for Darren McKenzie and Brenton Hobson. Brenton West, Sam Smith, Alex Sheridan, Jason Holdsworth. The drivers off the lead lap. Aaron Gilbert at 4 laps down as well. Ethan Winter still circulating, and Lachlan Mead will be the final driver. Unfortunately for the BBS Esports machine, the final 2 drivers running for both of those cars. So it's definitely not gone their way tonight.
Not at all, but a very great race from start to finish. Only a couple of cautions here tonight. Not uncommon for Daytona, but we managed to make it halfway through the race before it started kicking off.
And we'll start our podium celebrations from the bottom and work their way up. Over the last couple of weeks, Mr. Henry Dyson, second time that we've had the opportunity to have a little bit of a chat. What is it about February that seems you having a little bit of luck? Because I hear you won yourself a Daytona 500 as well.
Did I? I don't think I did, man. When did I win a Daytona 500? I actually didn't, man. But I don't know. Just on the February thing, I reckon it's bloody one of the worst months for sim racing because we all sweat how Jules off when we do these races. So in January, February, yeah, it's the worst time of year for sim racing. But anyway, here we are, circulating.
In terms of things, Daytona tonight, you kind of got boxed in those final couple of laps. You were just sort of committed. You couldn't really go anywhere because if you backed off, tried to go to the high side, build a run, nothing would have eventuated from that. So you were sort of stuck pushing the Vermilion Motorsports cars ahead of you, but lined up, you were the engine, and it all played out the way it was meant to.
Darky's one way to look at it. Happy to be there was probably another. You know, just wasn't too worried about where I was. I mean, just happy to get to the finish, I suppose.
In terms of the championship schedule, we're off to Phoenix next week. We'll exchange the high banks here for a short track with use of the brakes, and occasionally you might find the shifter in the middle of the run. How's the confidence heading into 2 weeks' time for Phoenix?
Don't know, man. It's been such a long time since I raced an Xfinity car at Phoenix. So I think from memory, and I've only ever raced fixed setups there, so from memory, it's always like mega tight through what is it, 1 and 2, just after the dog leg there. So yeah, if the open setups translate to be anywhere near like or feel like or drive like or trend like the fixed setups, then maybe I might have an idea of what's going to happen. But suck it and see, I suppose.
Mate, it might have been that long since you've last run Phoenix that they've flipped the corners around. 1 and 2 is now the other end of the racetrack.
Sorry, I knew in my head what I was talking about, but I can't remember the corner numbers, man. Like, yeah, I know they changed the numbers, but yeah, I can't remember which one's which.
Good to chat to you either way. Andrew Dyson, your opportunity to thank the sponsors to make it possible for you.
Thanks to all the boys. Sorry they sort of got screwed over by a weird non-caution incident towards the end there, but thanks for coming out anyway. Thanks everyone for the race, and cheers to you guys for putting it on. Oh, shout out Series.com for the best deals.
Good to chat as well. Look after yourself, Dyso, and we'll see you again in the future, I'm sure.
No worries. See you, boys.
That's it. Take one step further forward on the podium, and the 89 machine is having a word with Bryce Meddings.
Good if I came off mute at that right point in time. Wayne Burke, how are you doing? P2 here tonight.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Really, really good start to the season, to be honest. Yeah, pretty good feeling.
Good feeling. So, new season, new team, joined Vermilion Esports. How are you feeling about that move?
Well, good so far. But no, it's been great. They're a really good bunch of guys, really good team atmosphere. And yeah, it's been really good so far, like a bit of road course stuff as well, and then now into the oval season. Yeah, it's good start to the year.
It was good to see a new team and a bit of a swap, a bit of a change in pace. Love seeing new drivers in new teams and existing drivers making moves. Talk to us about those last couple of laps, pushing the 21 to the win here tonight. Definitely couldn't have done it without you. Very instrumental in his win here tonight. Did you practice this at all, or was it just, I got to do it on the fly, It
was very much a bit instinct. Do it on the fly at the end, especially when we got that last restart lining up first and third. We knew we were sort of on. The biggest thing in that last few laps was just controlling the temps. Just had to look after the temps in the draft, not get too hot, because just wanted to save up enough stuff for the last lap, because I knew the outside was getting big runs. So I just had to save enough temp. So I didn't want to blow up on that last lap, because that would have ended quite badly.
Absolutely. It's all a managing game. Well, you do really well here tonight. P2 is a great way to start the season, especially here at Daytona, where it can be a roll of the dice sometimes. Now, this is your opportunity. Thank the sponsors that have got you out here and racing, or anyone at home.
Yeah, just like to thank the guys at Vermilion Motorsports, Conti Setups for helping us out this year. That's really exciting. Race Lab, Nath 96 Designs, Supernova, Vermilion X Coaching, and the Kart Shop.
Alrighty. Well, we'll hopefully get to talk to you like this many more times throughout the season, maybe one step higher on the podium as well. But we'll go have a word with your teammate now, Lewis Greathead, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks, guys.
And finally, we'll be chatting to the driver who's managed to take tonight's race results. First race of a new season. They call it a little bit of a gamble when you come to Daytona. You're never quite sure who's going to win it, but you looked in control for that entirety of the final run there. Lewis, helps when you got a little bit of support from a good teammate in Wayne.
Oh, it sure does. That was I've got to give a lot of credit to Wayne there. He was an excellent pusher. We were just managing engine temps as well for him throughout the whole time, making sure he had some temp left for the final run. But yeah, that's 80% his work, I think.
Mate, it's been a pretty big learning curve for you guys over at the Vermilion Sim Sports outfit. Got to get yourselves quickly up to temperature and up to capacity in terms of how things are coming together. Qualified your way in. Race 1 in the books. You're going to be the points leader heading away from this one. Was that in the playbook for tonight, or was it, let's just see what unfolds?
Sort of see what unfolds, to be honest. I think you're in the same boat. You had OSR today as well. Unfortunately, didn't go too well. So I realized I actually could do A and C tonight, which I was thankful for. But yeah, it was just about. We know that super speedways doesn't really matter too much where you qualify, especially with the caliber of drivers that are in this lobby. You don't need to. You know that everyone's actually going to work well together, and you can see there was no breakaway pack or anything. Everyone stayed pretty tight. So.
The biggest thing about winning here tonight is that it is the win and end style system. So we're going to be seeing you in the postseason. You have already qualified your way into playoffs. We'll be kicking that off all the way through on the 17th of August from Darlington. Does that change the nature of the season now? Does it become about leading as many laps as you possibly can? Is it about picking up playoff points? Or is it, mate, look, I've just got to learn as much as I physically can across the season?
Yeah, probably more on the learning side, to be honest. We've had a very, very big development with the oval side over at Vermilion, and we've had obviously a really, really big push with the qualifying series, and then managing to get 4 drivers into it. So yeah, it's honestly just a learning curve for me. Still doing it, obviously helping the team out, seeing if we can get some of the other boys up the front here. I'm sure we will.
Well, congratulations on a race win here tonight. I know this one's going to be celebrated for a fair while. Long day of sim racing. It finishes in the best possible way. Who have you got to thank, Lewis?
It sure does. So obviously the team at Vermilion Motorsports, all the guys are absolutely amazing there. Conti Setups, Race Labs, Nathan 96 Designs, Supernova Motorsports, Vermilion X Coaching, and thekartshop.com.au.
Right, congratulations on the first win of the new championship, and we'll let you go celebrate with the team.
Thank you very much, guys.
Well, Bryce, that takes us through to the conclusion of the first race of the season. 1 race in the books, 1 driver already qualified for the postseason, and Lewis sounded a little bit incredulous, but right place, right time, still had to make sure that they ticked it off, and what a way to win.
Absolutely, it's a big win here in the Australian NASCAR Championship as well. First win here in the Australian NASCAR Championship, so etched into history already. In the playoffs, what more could you want out of a race here at Daytona, especially after what sounds like a troublesome time at Bathurst earlier today?
Yeah, it certainly was. It was a trying time for a lot of those drivers. Well, what's going to keep our series up to date for you guys? Don't forget, on Tuesday night, we're going to be going racing, I believe, with the Truck Series, Bryce, on Tuesday night, and then
it's the Xfinity Series.
Tuesday's Xfinity Series, and then on Thursday night you can get yourself involved in the Xfinity Series. If you'd like to participate in the Australian NASCAR E-Series, go ahead to jump on over to the Facebook page, Australian NASCAR Championships and Australian NASCAR E-Series. Pick up the Discord link, register yourself for the series, make sure that you hold the valid license requirements as required for these cars. That's a B-Class license for your ovals and a C-Class license to be eligible for the Truck Series as well. Lodge your interest there, and then we could be seeing you on Tuesday and Thursday night. Should fields hit capacity, you'll have to qualify your way in on the night. So make sure that you put all the time and the effort in. Big thank you to all sponsors that make it possible here for us to go racing here tonight. Bryce, Daytona certainly lit it up. It never fails to give us that pack racing that we're looking for.
Not at all. It's a great experience here at Daytona every time we come. And I can't wait to be back here in August for the end of the regular season, just before we tick over into the playoffs.
Yep, big season yet to come in terms of Australian NASCAR Championships. The next race, 2 weeks' time. Phoenix, it normally decides what a series champion is going to look like. This time, it'll decide the next driver to qualify their way into the playoffs. Will it be the Dansons? Will it be the Newmans? Will we see the elbows out from the heat of the desert of Phoenix? We'll join you in 2 weeks' time to go racing for the Australian NASCAR Championship.